Hey, what's happening? Welcome back to the GM. I'm Jacab Boulanger, and I want to, hit a few highlights from the Todd Monken press conference. So I'm gonna share this clip, about a 4 or 5 minute clip with you guys, and then I'll come back with some commentary. I thought this was super interesting. The press conference with Todd Monken today. So let's check this out.
Thank you. And a big shout out to Steve Biscotti and obviously Coach and Eric DaCosta and Sashi. They were all part of it. So excited to get started. And, we got a lot of work ahead of us, obviously starting with staff and then obviously putting a plan together, building off of what's been really successful in the past, power run game, play action, and then trying to build off that. And so it's been exciting. I've been here since last Wednesday, so it's been fun to get started. And I know it's going to go fast, so we have a lot of work ahead of us.
Todd, you obviously could have stayed at Georgia. I think it was pretty well known about that. What made this so appealing? What did this job lure you away and come?
I think first is the challenge, doing against the best in the world. I think everybody aspires to have that challenge. If I was going to do it, it was going to be somewhere that was parallel to Georgia. Part of the reason I went to Georgia, one of the main reasons, was because of culture, head coach, winning, really good on defense, obviously trying to find a way to do it better on offense. So I thought that was a parallel that I thought fit me. So irrespective of who was or wasn't going to be on the roster, I felt like it was something I really wanted to do and that I've always wanted to do. So that doesn't mean that I'm not grateful for Kirby Smart and the coaches that I worked with there. I get way too much credit for our success. I came in there and the culture was already set. The players were already recruited. The staff that we put together was tremendous in terms of our success. But this was what was next. And you can't be two places at once. That's just the way it is sometimes in life. That was a great job. And it was hard. You get close to the players, but you can't be two places at once. And this is what's next.
Todd, here in Baltimore, you'll be able to coach one of the high-profile players in Lamar Jackson. Have you had a chance to talk to him yet?
I really haven't had a chance to talk to any of the players, yet. Really, just getting here last Wednesday, just trying to get my feet wet, working through a lot of things that come from staff, what we're going to do moving forward, all that. Just trying to figure out where I'm headed when I drive to the facility.
Todd, you coached in the NFL prior to your time in Georgia. What do you think you learned over these last 3 years at the collegiate level, playing at the highest level, that you can take away and make yourself a better NFL coach?
I think the game's changed. I think the game has become more of a space game, using all 53 and a third yards and using the width and depth of the field, using space players and your skill players. I think that's changed. Years ago, maybe it was inside zone and run duo downhill. Now it's utilizing athletic quarterbacks. The game has changed. It's changing from, at one time it was taller, pocket passers, and now you're seeing more shorter athletic players. The game has changed in terms of using their athleticism, using players' athleticism, what they bring to the table. Because the game is about space. It's about being explosive. Well, how do you create explosives? Well, part of it is creating space. So that's probably the biggest thing, is how do you find a way to incorporate that into your offense. I think also being no huddle, some tempo, what that provides, that creates, because we were all no huddle. It's a little bit different then because of the dynamics of a signal system and then, the green dot to the quarterback. So you have to work through some of that. That'll take some working through, but it's a speed bump, not a hurdle.
John talked about how you're not wedded to a system, but you build your offense around the talent that you have. And I've heard that over and over from people I've talked to who've worked with you. Is that a philosophy that you've had from early on? Like I know your dad was a longtime coach. Is that something you learned from him, or where did that come from, that approach?
Well, first of all, I learned a lot from my dad, but at that age, I probably wasn't, I was just happy to be on the field and be a water boy, and all my heroes were my dad's players. That's what you are when you're a coach's kid, and it's not always the players are the best players. I learned this is one thing I did learn from my dad and some coaches, is that, and you try to tell the players and coaches, is that, young people's favorite players at first start off to be the best players, but then eventually it's the ones that make you feel special. And so that's your job, is to make people feel special, and that, your job is for them. You have a job for them. That's why you have a job, is to create the best version of them. And the moment we forget that, we're wrong. We're dead wrong. I think when they say adapt to the personnel you have, let's start off by this. Everything works better with really good personnel. So let's start with that, irrespective of what that may look like, from running back, tight end, receiver. And I've been really lucky to be around a lot of really good coaches that I was a part of that. One time I was at Louisiana Tech, and that was when Gary Croton, and they were spread, and that's when it started off with bubbles and getting the ball out on the perimeter. And then I went with Les Miles, and his 4th and 4 was just toss it to Jacob Hester. Like, it was power run game, and inside run was 30 minutes, and you practice for 3 hours. And there's certain aspects of all of that you gather, that you learn from, and you take that. And what you realize is that good football still is surrounded by, don't turn it over, be explosive, score touchdowns in the red zone, be good on third downs, don't have lost yardage plays, and athletic quarterbacks that make off-schedule plays. The rest of it just falls into that. That's the analytical part. How do we get to that model? Don't turn it over, and how are we explosive? I don't care if it's with a fullback, without a fullback, 4 wide, 3 wide. My cousins at Army wanted to run a triple option. That works. Okay. Now, you can only run what you know. You can't just make stuff up. I mean, it's fun to do that, but it usually doesn't work. But the reality is that there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, but still the principles of how you win are the same.
So, a few things, man, that I noticed about Todd Monken. The first thing is he's a no-nonsense kind of guy. Now, I don't know much about him. I've heard his name before. I know he was the kind of the brains of that Georgia offense, but I don't know much about him. But what I learned about him from this press conference, he's a straightforward, uh, no nonsense kind of guy, which seems to be a lot different personality type than that of John Harbaugh. Number one. Um, Number two, this guy's detailed and super smart. Uh, he says what he means. It means what he says. I think that he will certainly do um, an outstanding job leading the Baltimore Ravens offense, especially if Harbaugh stays out of the way and allows Monken to craft and develop the offense. Another thing that I noticed about Monken is that he's willing to work with the players that he has. Now, that could be saying one or two things. One, he's unaware of who he's going to have right now because things will be shifting and changing. Therefore, he'll be willing to work with the players he has, or he has an idea of what horses will be in the stable, per se, Lamar Jackson, and he's certainly willing to work with them. But either way, I think that he's going to do a solid job. And then the final thing that I noticed, which is probably the most important thing, is that he has not talked to Lamar Jackson. That was one of the first questions out of one of the reporters' mouths, is had he talked to Lamar Jackson? And his answer was he hasn't really talked to anybody. Well, that wasn't the question. The question was, had he talked to Lamar Jackson specifically? You see, if I'm a new OC and my number one job is to get the offense ready, I'm going to be talking to the leader of that offense. And if he hasn't talked to Lamar Jackson after, I think this is day 2 or 3, then that sends up red flags for me. So those are a few things that I noticed. You guys let me know what you noticed in the comment section, and we'll interact that way. So listen, I appreciate you guys. I just want to share that quick clip. I have another clip coming, some more takes that I have. So appreciate you guys. Let me know what you want me to know in the comment section. I'm your guy Boulanger, and I'm out.